Have you ever spent an entire day wanting to move, but your body just feels like lead? We often call this laziness, a word heavy with guilt, shame, and the weight of social judgment. But in the world of psychology, laziness isn't a character trait. It is a very specific type of signal. It's a message from your brain, a protective barrier built to keep you safe from perceived mental threats. To understand this, we have to look past the surface and peer into the mechanics of the mind. Society tells us that if we aren't producing, we are failing. This creates a cycle of constant anxiety. We internalize this pressure until even our moments of rest feel like we are breaking some secret rule. This constant on state fries our nervous system, leading to the very paralysis we try to avoid. Let's begin by stripping away the labels. You are not a lazy person, you are a stuck person. There is a profound difference between the two, and understanding that difference is where your healing finally starts. Stuckness is often a state of functional freeze, where the brain perceives the to-do list as a predator. When your brain sees a predator, it doesn't want to work, it wants to hide and stay quiet. This is why the more you yell at yourself to get up, the more your body resists moving. You are trapped in a biological standoff between your logical prefrontal cortex and your emotional, fearful amygdala. The logic says work, but the emotion says run, and the result is a body that does nothing. We call this procrastination, but it's actually an emotional regulation problem, not a time management problem. You aren't bad at managing your hours, you are struggling to manage the feelings those hours contain. Imagine the guilt as a heavy backpack you put on before you even try to start your day. Today, we are going to take that backpack off and look at what is actually inside of it. Because once you know the why, the how becomes a much shorter, much gentler path to follow. The first driver is overwhelm. This happens when your brain perceives too many moving parts at once. Your mind tries to process every task simultaneously, leading to a total system freeze and mental exhaustion. When everything feels equally important, nothing feels possible, so we retreat to the safety of our comfort zones. The second driver is fear. We often stay lazy because if we never try, we can never fail. Perfectionism is just fear in disguise. It demands a flawless result that no human can actually achieve. If you can't guarantee success, your subconscious decides it is safer to never start the journey at all. Then there is the third driver, lack of clarity. Your brain needs a specific map, not just a destination. Telling yourself to be productive is too vague. It's like trying to drive to a new city without roads. Without a clear first step, your mental energy stays locked away, waiting for a signal that never arrives. These three drivers, overwhelm, fear, and lack of clarity, are the invisible walls surrounding your current frozen state. You aren't lacking willpower, you are simply lacking a way to navigate these specific, invisible mental obstacles. Willpower is like a battery, and yours is being drained by the friction of these internal forces. To move forward, we must stop trying to push harder and start trying to lower the friction. Lowering friction means making the task so small that your fear brain doesn't even notice it's happening. When a task is microscopic, the brain doesn't see a threat. It sees something it can easily handle. This subtle shift moves you from a state of threat back into a state of possibility. It is the difference between staring at a mountain and looking only at the very next step. Clarity comes from taking action, not from thinking. You cannot think your way out of being frozen. Every small action you take is a vote for the person you want to become tomorrow. Now that we've identified these drivers, let's look at the biological trap that keeps us repeating them. To understand why we stay stuck, we have to talk about dopamine, the molecule of more. Contrary to popular belief, dopamine isn't about pleasure. It's about the anticipation of a potential reward. When you pick up your phone instead of working, you're hunting for a quick, effortless hit. Scrolling gives your brain junk food rewards, high calories of excitement with zero nutritional value. This creates a dopamine loop, where the more you scroll, the harder it is to stop. Every like or video is a tiny spark that keeps you tethered to the screen and distraction. Meanwhile, the task you're avoiding starts to feel even more painful and difficult by comparison. This is the contrast effect. The boring work looks like a desert, while the phone looks like an oasis. But the digital oasis is a mirage. It leaves you feeling more drained than when you started. Your brain's reward threshold rises, meaning you need more stimulation just to feel normal. This leaves you in a state of anhedonia, where the things you usually enjoy start to feel gray. You aren't lazy, you are overstimulated. Your brain is essentially sunburned by too much digital light. To break the loop, we have to lower the dopamine noise so we can hear our intentions again. This often requires a dopamine detox, a period of intentional boredom to reset your sensitivity. Boredom is the space where creativity and motivation are born. It is the soil of action. When you stop the noise, the fear and overwhelm finally start to settle down. You begin to realize that the work isn't actually the enemy, the avoidance of it is. Avoidance is like a tax that gets more expensive the longer you wait to pay it. By facing the discomfort of a low dopamine morning, you reclaim power over your focus. Next, we'll explore how to turn this reset into a sustainable, gentle way of living. Now that we've reset the noise, we need a plan. We start by lowering the barrier to entry. This is the 2-minute rule. If a task feels too big, commit to doing just 2 minutes. 2 minutes is too small for your fear brain to notice, so the internal alarm doesn't go off. You aren't writing a book, you are just writing one sentence. You aren't cleaning, you're picking up one sock. The goal isn't the result. The goal is simply to start. Starting is the hardest part of the journey. Once you move, you create kinetic energy. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. We also use environment design. Don't rely on willpower, change the room around you to make it easy. If you want to exercise, put your shoes by the bed. If you want to read, hide the remote. You are creating a path of least resistance, guiding your future self toward the right choice. Next, we use implementation intentions. This is the if-then logic that bypasses decision fatigue. If I finish my coffee, then I will open my laptop. The decision is already made for you. This removes the need for motivation. You are simply following a script you wrote for yourself. When you stop waiting to feel like it, you reclaim hours of your life wasted on hesitation. It's okay if you move slowly. A slow crawl is still faster than standing perfectly still. Success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and day out, without the need for perfection. Forgive yourself for the days you do nothing. Guilt is the biggest enemy of tomorrow's progress. When you carry guilt, you are trying to run a race with rocks in your pockets. Empty the pockets. Forgive the lazy version of yourself. They were just trying to survive. Now you are ready to build a life that balances healthy action with intentional, deep rest. In our final sequence, we will discuss how to tell when your laziness is actually a need. We must finally address the most important question. Are you being lazy, or are you actually exhausted? In a world that demands constant growth, we have forgotten that the mind requires seasons of winter. Laziness is often a label we use to punish ourselves for having human limits and physical needs. Burnout looks exactly like laziness from the outside, but the internal engine is simply out of fuel. If you try to push through exhaustion, you aren't being productive, you're just causing more damage. Intentional rest is a skill. It means resting without the shoulds whispering in the back of your mind. True rest is restorative. It fills the cup back up so that action becomes a natural overflow. When you allow yourself to be lazy intentionally, it loses the power to make you feel guilty. You are reclaiming your time from the pressure of the hustle, choosing peace over performative busyness. Remember, your worth as a human being is not tied to your output or your daily wins. You were born with inherent value that no amount of productivity can increase or decrease. As we end this journey, take a deep breath and feel the weight leaving your tired shoulders. You have the tools now, reframing the labels, managing the drivers, and resetting your dopamine. You have permission to be slow. You have permission to be small. You have permission to be. Laziness is just a wall. Once you see the bricks, you can start to take them down. Start today by doing something so small it feels insignificant. Write that one single word. The momentum you build will eventually carry you through the shadows and into the bright morning light. Thank you for being here with me today. Your journey towards self-understanding is a beautiful thing. What is one 2-minute task you can do right now? Tell your story in the comments below. Until next time, be kind to your mind and remember, you are exactly where you need to be.